I like this. Pretty slick. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, all welcome to the 2024 USA Powerlifting Youth National Championships here in beautiful Greenville, South Carolina. There's a North and a South Carolina. You are joined by myself. My name is Nick Stevens. I'm a USAPL coach, commentator, and competitor. And I'm also joined by...
Hey guys, my name is Kevin Serrano. I'm also a USAPL coach, referee, meet director, commentator now, and athlete.
all of the things to do with powerlifting. Well, folks, it's going to be a phenomenal day across the board for powerlifting. Today is our primary youth day, so this first session here, 2 flights, is going to be all of our ladies youth lifters. Once we get done with this session here, we go into session B, which should start later on this afternoon. Those are going to be our male youth lifters. And then after that, if I'm not mistaken, I believe we have male bench.
It'll be our boys.
Boys,
Our
okay.
youth boys next session.
Or the session after this one.
Yeah.
Okay. We see Gino giving recognition to all of our national level referees on the platform here. Tony Harris, Dana Bloomfield, all sorts of referees that have been not only on or been involved with powerlifting for many, many years, but giving back to the sport in this national aspect, being able to help our youth lifters on the highest stage possible. And now, folks, we're going to get a little bit into kind of what this is going to look like. If you've never watched powerlifting before, if this is your first time checking it out on a live stream, we're going to do our best to try and give you the best view and the best vision of what we are seeing, as well as mine and Kevin's best impressions of what might be happening on the platform as well. While we both are referees, we are not on the platform at that moment, so your view is as good as ours. If we make a call wrong, we make a call wrong. But we will obviously do our best to make sure that we're providing you an accurate and fun experience while you guys are watching. And it looks like Gino is all set with his introduction, so we are going to start off our squats with Bellamy White. Miss Bellamy White, she's going to open with 44 pounds, so an even 20 kilos. And she is in our Youth 1 class, so our youngest youth division of all of USA Powerlifting. The youngest you can be is 8 years old to compete. And now, Kevin, can you tell us a little bit about or I guess because you are national level, I'm not, I'll be humble to that. What are some things that we're looking for with the squat here?
So as you see, Bellamy's walking up to the bar. She's unracking her squat. She's locking out her knees, standing erect, waiting for that squat command from the chief referee. She squats down, make sure she hits depth, meaning that the hip crease has to fall below the top surface of the knee. She then stands back erect with her knees locked, receives that rack command from the referee, and once she completes all those requirements, she then gets 3 white lights, as we see here on the screen. And one thing we'll notice is on the names, if you're checking out, looking at the scoring on LiftingCast, you see the stars next to the lifters' names. That means that they're using a youth bar. So youth lifters are eligible to select a lighter weight bar in order to basically meet the standards of what weights they want to lift.
Right.
And so, for instance, Phoenix up next, she also opted to lift in a youth bar, going up to 22.5 kilos, and gets 3 white lights.
She buried it for sure. Coming up next is Miss Jolene Flagg, 71 pounds on the bar for her in our Youth 2 age group. And Kevin, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we have 3 youth divisions, if I'm not mistaken, because the first Team 1 division is 13 to 14. So if we've got Youth 1 from 8 to 9, Youth 2 from 10 to 11, Youth 3 from 11 to 12?
Yep, correct.
Awesome. Look at that. I'm remembering something. We also want to give a quick shout out to our spotters and loaders and all the rest of the volunteers and staff that have helped make this meet possible. A7 is providing all of our equipment for our spotters on the platform today. We also want to give a quick shout out to Barbell Productions for providing the live stream and media for this event.
We see the spotters and loaders changing the bar over to a 20 kilo bar, which is the normal standard bar used in all USA powerlifting competitions.
All right, here's Miss Jolene Flagg. Bar is loaded. All the unicorn socks. We've got the pink camo singlet. We are ready to go. Oh, we got a little bit of misunderstanding here with the referees. Just making sure we've got the right lifter with the right weight on the bar. It does get a little bit tricky, especially when we start switching from youth bar to a regular power bar, a 20 kilo bar. Getting those weights changed is going to be a little bit tougher on our spotters and loaders, but that is why we have LiftingCast, and that is why we have multiple referees.
And a textbook lift by Jolene gets 3 white lights, satisfies all the all the requirements as.
Now let's say a lifter gets 2 white lights. Does that still count?
Yeah, correct. So we have 3 referees, 2 side referees, and a chief referee, and each referee is positioned in a certain angle, just to make sure that they're looking at all angles of the lifter. And I guess in powerlifting, it's majority rules. If we have 2 referees that give a white light, that still satisfies a good lift. So it's majority rules. If it's a 2 red light lift, that is a no lift. So that means that 2 referees believe that the lifter did not satisfy the requirements or meet the standards of lifting for the given lift.
All right, up next we've got Miss Sadie Royer with 77 pounds on the bar. Looks like she's representing Eclipse Powerlifting. We see Coach Aaron in the corner there. Shoot, you blink twice and you miss it. Miss Sadie Royer, that's going to be a good lift. 3 white lights. And ladies and gentlemen, we are just moving on up with the weight here. Up next is Miss Nora Hogan, 93 pounds. And now for a lot of these lifters, this is going to be their very, 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 very first brush with a national competition or another competition that's super high level, where there is this big spectacle where you've got a spotlight on you. And to be able to experience that at this young of an age, like I know when I was 10 years old, I was trying really hard not to pass out running bases, right? These kids are lifting hundreds and hundreds of pounds at 10, 11 years old. I can only imagine what this experience is like for them. Ooh, now, Kevin, here's a question for you. One thing I'm noticing here, she has a bit of a Velcro belt. Does the kind of belt matter with these lifters, or does it matter, you know, like, let's say if they're youth lifters, do they need something as stiff as a thick leather belt?
Because a lot of youth lifters are still in their developing phases, right? They're still growing in their bodies. There really isn't such need to have a 13 millimeter belt that you'd see with a lot of the heavier weight lifters, or just more lifters in like the junior or open division. So they can get away with not using knee sleeves like we see with a lot of these lifters here, and not needing a lot of the equipment that a lot of lifters in the regular divisions would opt to use. But it can certainly help. It certainly depends on the lifter.
Absolutely. Also looks like we're using our new plates, courtesy of Texas Strength Systems.
That's an easy through at lights. And back to what you were saying about these lifters being in the national stage and kind of getting that in the field for a higher level of competition. These meets aren't meets that you necessarily just register for. A lot of these lifters, all these lifters in fact, have to qualify for this meet, meaning that they have to do a local, state, or regional level competition, hit a qualifying total, which is essentially just a total that needs to be hit at a USA Powerlifting competition for youth lifters. I believe it is 75 kilos or 25 kilos, I believe. It just can't be your first meet. And then they registered for this competition, and now they have that national level experience under the belt. As we see on the screen right now, all of these lifters have successfully hit their first squat attempts as we work our way through our first flight.
And that's one thing we want to be super cognizant of as we're going through each of our lifts today. We want to be sure that we're getting as many lifts as possible, because that's the only way we're going to be able to add pounds to the total, right? If we go into this squat here and, you know, God forbid, let's say Carrera were to miss this upcoming squat on some technical reason or whatever, right? It puts you in an interesting situation for your next two lifts, because then you kind of got to battle back there. You've got to think about, well, how much weight do I want to sacrifice in the other lifts in order to get this weight back, among other things. So we want to be sure early on, especially with our youth lifters, that we have a positive mindset starting out, that we are able to hit that opening lift and able to get ourselves on the board. Because, Kevin, what happens if you don't hit any of your lifts? Like, let's say I'm Gianna and I don't squat high enough on my first, still think it's fine, go up, and then I miss my other two lifts. What happens there?
So that's, in that case, the lifter would bomb out, essentially, which means that they won't be able to get a successful lift in any one of the 3 attempts, which means that they won't have a lift to be added onto the total, which means they can't score, essentially, a total or place. So in this competition, you want to make sure that you, as an athlete, are hitting at least 1 squat, 1 bench, 1 deadlift, so you can then get a total and then place and essentially score in powerlifting.
That's right. Coming up next, we've got Miss Anna Camila Little. Shining bright like a diamond, 52.5 kilos, 115 pounds on the bar. Very clean.
A very sparkly lift.
And now one thing we're noticing different here with Miss Anna Camila versus, you know, Carrera or Aline, her bar was a little bit lower on the shoulders there. Why do you think that might be?
So she might be just given by her coach. She's practicing low bar squatting, which means that she, instead of placing the bar over on the upper back or traps, she's placing it on the shoulders, just in a lower position on her back, just to engage different muscles and just have a different lifting position. And also one thing we noticed with Anna Camila is she did receive 1 red light by one of the side referees for depth. So if you look at the bottom box on the light, you see it's a red followed by a red card, a red square, and then the red square essentially indicates what the infraction was for. A red card means depth, meaning that she did not squat low enough, or so the side referee on the given side did not believe she squatted low enough.
Here's Willow Lyles. That was... I'm almost speechless for how pretty that looked. That was a very just technically sound squat across the board. You don't even see that from a lot of our older kids. And that is it, ladies and gentlemen. All of our lifters have hit their first squat attempt. Oh, actually, sorry, we've got one more. Thank you, Kevin. We've got Gianna coming up next for her first squat attempt. And then we're going to go back to the top of the order.
Now, Gianna is a 48-kilo lifter, meaning that she weighs just about 100 pounds, and she's lifting over 210 pounds for an opening squat.
All right, bar is loaded for Miss Gianna Andrews. It looks like purple might be the theme today. I've seen a lot of purple singlets, a lot of purple belts. I'm here for it, though. My favorite color.
Now, Gianna has competed at last year's Youth National and is an American record holder.
Ooh, in what?
Squat.
Ooh. Just looking to stack on some more pounds to that American record squat. And it looks like she's got plenty in the bank. Oh, my goodness. 209. Do you know what that record, or are you looking it up?
Yeah.
It's going to be a good lift for Gianna. And with that, now we go into our second attempts for squat. So, folks, everyone that we've seen thus far has hit their opening attempt. We're going to go back to the very top of the lineup here and go all the way down the order once again. And we're going to repeat that for third attempts. Now, we're going to go, we're going to take a 10-minute break. We're not. We're going to go right into Flight B. We're going to do all of their opening attempts, and then their seconds, and then their thirds. And then we'll take a 10-minute break before going into bench and so on for deadlifts as well. All right, Phoenix Fearson coming back up to the plate, 55 pounds. Going up an even, a nice 2.5 kilo jump from first attempt to second attempt, so that's about 6 pounds. Oh my goodness, I don't think she could go any deeper. Phenomenal squat there by Phoenix, 3 white lights.
And Phoenix is making her nationals debut, this being only her second meet.
Ever?
She started competing earlier this year.
The kids are all right. The youth is strong. Bar's getting loaded now from Miss Bellamy White, 68 pounds.
And per youth rules, we see that Bellamy has loaded 31 kilos. Youth lifters are able to load increments less than 2.5 kilos. And that just allows youth lifters to be able to lift the appropriate weights and not overextend themselves, being forced to take 2.5 kilo increments.
Ooh, good grab there by the spotters and loaders there. It looked like she came down just a little bit misgrooved. It didn't look like strength at all. It looked like that could be very easily fixed coming into that third attempt there. So we hope Miss Bellamy is able to come back from that. Up next is Miss Jolene Flagg, going up 5 kilos to 37.5 kilos, so 82 pounds. So that's about an 11-pound jump from first to second. All right, here's Miss Jolene. Unicorn socks against the world, 82 pounds here for a second attempt squat. 40 kilos body weight, so weighing just under 90 pounds. The crowd goes silent with a cheer, 3 white lights. Big shout out here to Bryce Lewis and the Barbell Productions team for making our heads-up displays for the weekend. Super sick, making it easy for us to tell what's going on the platform. right, here's Sadie Royer again. Another lifter going up 5 kilos, so 11 pounds from 35 to 40 kilos. That's 88 pounds overall.
And as we continue to see the progression between opening squat and second attempts and third attempts, we see the types of jumps these youth lifters are making. Lifters aren't making these crazy 15, 20 kilo jumps as you see a lot of the open, junior, and like those heavier weight individual counterparts. But we do see that, oh wow.
Looks like she came down just a little bit fast there. It was almost too light.
Yeah, yeah, just looked like she lost a little bit of balance, but she'll come out back for her third attempt. And like I was saying earlier, these lifters aren't making insane, crazy jumps from lift to lift, but we are seeing that they're just following a natural progression somewhere between the 5 to 10 kilo range.
Nora Hogan's up next. 104 pounds. Nora Hogan, again, we're starting to see a little bit bigger jumps as we're getting a little bit higher into the flight now. So we're seeing generally between 2.5 to 5 kilo jumps. I don't imagine we'll see anything really more than that, just because that jump gets really, really heavy once you get past 5 kilos. Good squat there by Nora. Spotters and loaders walk her back, but that's going to be a no lift from both of our side judges on depth here.
So this is one of those cases where both side referees on the right and left-hand side believe that the lifter did not squat low enough, indicated by the 2 red lights followed by red cards, but the chief referee did give a white light. So in this case, it is a 2 red light no lift, being that it's a 2 red majority.
But so long as we have 1 white, what can we do?
So there is a jury available, and the jury is there to, I guess, if a lifter believes that the incorrect decision was made on the platform, the lifter and their coach can go protest, essentially questioning the referee decision and seeing if there is a possibility to overturn the lift. And that was a beautiful squat by Lean, getting 3 white lights.
And then we've got our jury now. We've got Mr. B.J. Foss. Looks like we've got Mr. Eric Cordero. And it looks like Mr. Is that Mr. Jack?
Yep, Jack Marcus.
Looks like we've got a pretty stacked jury, looks like.
So again, the jury essentially is overseeing not just the referees, but just all of the operations of the entire platform, making sure that all the rules and regulations of USA Powerlifting are being followed in accordance to the rule book.
All right, up next we've got Ms. Abigail Morrow, 121 pounds. So this is, it looks like it's 2.5 kilos over body weight, so she is able to do clearly a lot more than that. Very easy, very controlled. You can tell, and one thing I'm noticing a lot with these youth lifters as we're moving on is you can tell what I like to call platform maturity that a lot of these lifters have at such a young age.
Yep.
You know, when you go into local meets or even some state or regional meets, you see folks that, you know, maybe it's their first or second meet. They're not entirely sure about how a meet goes. They're not entirely sure how to focus themselves for a lift. And so to be able to see that, again, with these youth lifters at, you know, 8, 9, 10, 11 years old is huge. And it's a testament to the discipline that all these youth lifters, especially Carrera Erickson with that squat there, it's a testament to the discipline that these youth lifters have learned, and is also a testament to their coaches and their teams and how strong-willed they are in order to succeed in this sport.
And speaking of that platform maturity, Miss Erickson has been competing since 2021. This has been her, I think this on her database shows that this is her 14th or 15th meet.
Huh? Who? What? Camilla?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. So she's been here before. She knows what's up.
Yep.
Very clean. No wraps, no belt, no sleeves, no problem. 3 white lights. All right, we're cruising down the lineup here. Miss Willow Lyles up next with 60 kilos. So that's going to be 131 pounds, excuse me, 132. Ooh, looked like a little tough coming out of the hole there, but we were able to stand up with it. Anna Camilla, 3 white lights. We are coming up on our last 2 lifters of the flight here before we take it to our last squat attempts.
Taking the bar up to 60 kilos and even 132 pounds. For reference for those watching at home, this is about 1 commercial gym plate.
Willow with a very fast unrack. I'm speechless about the technique here. I'm speechless about the technique. Willow Lyles, what a phenomenal squat. I know we mentioned this earlier with the technique here, but this is
Willow's
a very pretty
second
squat.
meet and national stage debut.
Some kids are just built like that. Some kids are just built diff. Now, coming up next, I know y'all are, if you're following along on the LiftingCast, you're seeing a big jump in our squat here. We're going up to 102.5 kilos, 225 pounds. I know Kevin alluded to 132 being a commercial plate. Gianna Andrews is about to squat 2 commercial plates for her second attempt. And Kevin did an awesome job of pulling us up Gianna's records. She has every single 40 kilo and 44 kilo record in Alabama for all age groups, ladies and gentlemen. All the way from Youth 1 to Open, she has every record for the 44s and the 48s and the 40s. Here's Gianna. So unfortunately, that is going to be a no lift for Gianna. As she was coming up there, she took a little bit of a step back, which when you're unracking the bar, you can take as many steps as you want. But until that referee gives you that start command, or once that referee gives you that start command, your feet have to stay planted.
So for those of you watching at home, even though it may look like she squatted the weight up, because she took a step before the rack command, that was a no lift, because you have to show full control of the bar during the entire portion of the squat, during the descent and ascend.
And we've got, and I guess this is a great allusion to a couple of the things that we're going to, like a couple of the infractions that we might see with squat. So, well, first we've got Miss Phoenix Fearson at the top of the order, 60 pounds. But we've already mentioned some folks have been called for depth, so that hip crease not being below the top surface of the knee. We've seen stepping back after the bar. There's some other ones, and they're differentiated by color cards, right? And so the red, if you get a red light on the board and there's a red box underneath, that means depth. And then what are the other ones? Blue, yellow.
Blue can be both blue and yellow can mean a variety of things. Blue, for instance, can most prominently is downward motion. We haven't seen that here yet, but is essentially when a lifter takes a double dip or the bar moves down when it's while the lifter is recovering back up with the bar. And for instance, yellow would be a variety of things, meaning jumping the command, an outright miss on the bar, and there's a whole lot of things like taking a step before the rack command.
Oh, come on, Bellamy. Oh, man. Hey, listen, that's a phenomenal attempt there, Miss Bellamy. Spotters and loaders got to grab it. She ran away before Gino got a chance to congratulate her. Ready to get off the platform and get ready for bench. Up next is Miss Jolene Flagg, going up 2.5 kilos. So we saw a good jump scheme there. So Jolene elected to go 32.5 kilos to 37.5 kilos from first to second. So 5 kilo increase. And then just to be sure we add a little bit more pounds to the total here, we go up another 2.5. You know, maybe 5 kilos might be a little bit too much of a jump. And like I said, we just want to be sure we're getting as much weight onto our total as possible, because that's how we're going to win.
Nice and easy setup by Jolene. Gets that squat command.
Good grab there again by the spotters and loaders. All right, we've got Miss Sadie Royer coming up next. And we've got Nora Hogan, Abigail Morrow, and Anna Camilla coming right behind. Sadie's going to retake 40 kilos, so 88 pounds.
Sadie representing Eclipse Powerlifting out of Bloomington, Indiana. There's Coach Aaron.
Another one of their coaches, Bianca. Looks like we have a little bit of a delay on the platform here. We might have had a different lifter come up and take another weight. So we're going to see, it looks like the referees are getting that hammered out now. Maybe there was a misload by the spotters. It looks like there was. And so in that instance, is the lifter able to come back and hit that?
It really depends on the circumstances into which that happened. If the lifter was incorrectly given an inappropriate load, they can't come back and relift the weight. Ultimately, the decision comes to the chief referee and the jury, whether or not a lifter will be granted a relift. And in this case, I believe Sadie will be coming up next to take 40 kilos. And then that'll be followed up by Nora Hogan.
Yes, and so if Bellamy does come back up to retake that third squat, it would have to be at the very, very end. If I'm not mistaken. Oh, actually, wait, so no, it wasn't Bellamy. It was Jolene.
Yeah, so we see Jolene is getting a relift at the end of the round. Up now we have Sadie from Eclipse Powerlifting.
Very clean. Excellent work there for Sadie.
So I believe what had happened was Jolene might have gotten a misload on her bar. So then, therefore, she will be granted a relift at the end of the round. So once Gianna is done with her lift, Jolene will go ahead and retake her 40 kilos at the end of the round. That'll conclude Flight A squats at the end.
And we do that so the lifter gets as much rest as they need, right? We don't want to have a lifter come out and try and attempt a misloaded weight, give it their all, God forbid they miss it, and then we load it right back for them to try and hit it again. We want to make sure our lifters get enough rest between each of their attempts.
Correct.
Now here's Nora.
Retaking 47.5 kilos.
She did miss her first attempt, or second attempt on depth, so we'll see if she's able to get it deep enough here. And she is.
Looks deep. Gets that rack command, and I believe she'll get 3 white lights. Oh,
2 to 1.
2 to 1.
That is
good
still
lift.
a good lift. Someone's got to tell that left referee to be a little bit nicer. All right, coming behind is Abigail Morrow, 60 kilos on the bar. We're back up to our commercial gym weights, so this is one solid plate.
We see these next 4 lifters, Abigail, Anna, Aline, and Carrera, taking all 60 kilos. So they're all going to follow each other with the same weights.
All right, bars loaded here from Miss Abigail Morrow. She's in our U3 weight class, so between the ages of 12 and 13.
And Abigail has competed at Youth Nationals twice already. This is her 3rd.
Oh, so she knows what's up.
Yep.
She's not new to this. She's true to this. Oh, my goodness. I wish I could have squatted like some of these kids back when I was this young. Oh, my goodness, that was phenomenal. The excitement off the stage is a perfect description of all the effort and all of the stress and time and emotion that these lifters have put into preparing for this competition. You know, this is youth nationals. This isn't, you know, a random local meet where you can just hang out and have fun with your friends. Like, this is a serious stage here. Here's Anna Camilla, again taking that 60 kilos.
Anna's coming out from Wyoming.
All right, let's see what the judges say for Anna. That was a state record attempt, and it is her state record now. 2-1. That is going to be a good lift.
Not even the referees could have stopped her.
And Anna Camila goes 3 for 3 for all of her squat attempts. Let's check the replay for this one here. That was clean. So I can see where that one side judge might have seen it was a smidge high. Looked like her right hip was a little bit lower than her left hip, but that's getting super, super nitpicky into it.
Yep.
Here's Aline Fleetwood.
Aline coming out from Georgia.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, I've seen Aline Fleetwood of the Fleetwoods multiple times. I've gotten to commentate over them. It's a strong family.
Aline just hit 60 kilos. That was a 5 kilo PR from her best. Previous best of 55 kilos. Nice. Good job, Aline. Carrera coming up next to 60 kilos as well. Coming up her best being 58.5 kilos, so that'll be a 1.5 kilo PR.
I enjoyed Carrera. Had to move all of the braids and extensions out of the way. Got to make sure we get that good shelf. Looks good. Can she find the way up? Yes, she can. See if our judges thought that was deep enough. And they do.
3 white lights. Carrera goes 3 for 3. And again, it's a huge confidence booster when a lifter goes 3 for 3. You know you hit all 3 of your squats, and you're taking that positive momentum going into bench. And again, as we continue wrapping up these squats, we are going to move into Flight B. They're going to do their 3 rounds of squats, and then we're going to take a 10-minute break and then move on to bench and continue on with the meet.
Up next is Camila Roth taking, we're going to add some weight to the bar for the first time in 4 lifters, going up to 63 kilos, so 138 pounds. Also in our Youth 3 age division. So you can kind of tell, you know, she started to dip just a little bit once you try to come up after the bar. That's okay. It happens. You know, if in its attempt you want to miss, you don't want to miss your third, but if it's one attempt you want to miss, it's your third because you're already on the board at that point. You've already started to gain a little bit onto your total. And so now you know what you've got to recoup for bench and for dead later on.
And great job on the spotters and being able to keep our lifters safe. As a spotter and loader, you want to make sure that you're letting the lifter be able to fight out the weight, grind out the weight. But if you know that the lifter goes down with the bar, you know they're not going to get that lift. You want to take that bar just so they're not emptying out the tank,
right?
Expending all their energy because they still got bench and deadlifts to follow.
Now here's Willow Lyles. Wide stance, low bar. I'm here for this. Can she find her way up? Oh, it's going to be a grinder. Yes, she can.
Beautiful attempt by Willow.
Locks the knees. Foots didn't step. Foots didn't step. That's going to be a good lift for Willow Lyles. She's even surprised about that one. Excellent work there, kid. All right, folks. Gianna Andrews looking to add just a bit more onto her American record attempt. She's going to retake that 225. Now, she did miss that second attempt on the way up. She stepped back just a little bit. And like we said, once that referee gives you that start command, you cannot move your feet. So we'll see if she's able to find the stability for this one. I think she's got it. She looks confident. I think she's got it.
Looking like a seasoned lifter back there.
Well, for having basically every single record in existence for 2 or 3 different weight classes in your state, I think she's well suited for this platform. All right, here she goes. Excellent angles from our Barbell Productions team. All right, Gianna, lock in here. Here we go. There it is. Oh, yeah. Gianna adds a bit more to her American record. That's going to be a good lift. The hand is raised. 3 white lights.
Now, that isn't the last squat of the flight. We have Jolene, who's taking that relift. She's going back down to 40 kilos.
Make sure we're getting that bar loaded for her. It is a little bit of a jump going from 225 back down to 88, but like I said, we just want to make sure our lifters have the right weight on the bar. This is their competition. They matter the most.
Everyone deserves an opportunity to display what they've all been training for, so now it's Jolene's time.
And most of these lifters have been training for months, right? If you're experienced in powerlifting, or having a good meet prep takes between 2 to 3 months. Maybe even more, maybe even less, but there's a lot of preparation, a lot of hours in the gym, all leading up to this moment here. The third attempt on the platform. Jolene Flagg going to retake that 88-pound third attempt. Let's see what she's got.
Gets set up, locks her knees, looks at the referee, gets that squat command.
And she finds her way, Jolene Flagg. Have faith in the unicorn socks, ladies and gentlemen. Jolene Flagg, 3 white lights, big hug to the coach. And that's going to be it for our squats for the very first flight of the 2024 USA Powerlifting Youth National Championship.
And here we have, starting off our flight, we have Harley Ann Schaefer attempting 40 kilos, getting us right into flight B, squat openers.
All right, Harley Ann's making her way up. Rocking one of the A7 pink colorway singlets. Shout out one of our sponsors, A7, Demand Greatness. Easy peasy. We got to appreciate the sock game of some of these kids. You know, the character they're bringing to the platform is making it so much more of a spectacle for us. I mean, I love watching this.
They're rivaling a lot of the swag from the collegiate lifters.
I know. I don't think anybody can top collegiate lifters, but they're close. They're starting on a good path. All right, up next is Alexia Landy. 50 kilos on the bar, so 110 pounds even.
This is just 2.5 kilos under her best from her previous competition.
Oh, wow.
Smooth attempt, 3 white lights.
Say that was very, very focused. All right, up next is Miss Aubrey Hickey, followed by Madeline Jenkins and Ava Lipovsky. Aubrey Hickey going to 60 kilos, so 132 pounds. We're already at the commercial plate weight. She is in our Youth 3 age division, so between the ages of 12 and 13. All right, here's Aubrey, bars loaded. Now, as soon as the referee says bar is loaded, does the lifter have to immediately come out for that? Or what does that look like?
So for all 3 attempts, as soon as the bar is called loaded, the lifters have 60 seconds to receive the first command. So for instance, on squat, it would be the squat command, meaning that the lifter, within that 60-second time frame, is able to unrack the bar, set up their feet, and receive that squat command. As we get into bench, it'll be the start command on bench. And then for deadlift, it'll just be the initiation of the pull.
All right, we see camera is locked on Miss Madeline Jenkins, a hometown hero, you could say, from Greenville, South Carolina. It's a very strong family, the Jenkins are. Both her mom, her aunt, her sister Everybody in the family lifts. She's going to make them proud today. You can hear them in the stands already.
Madeline opening up already above her personal best of 62.5 kilos. Here we have 65 kilos. Clearly has made some progress.
Very clean. And when you're looking at an opener, folks, I mean, these first attempts look super easy, and there's a reason for that. You don't want to put a weight on the bar that's super, super heavy or super close to your max, because in a sense, when you take your first and second attempts, you're still kind of warming up in effect. You're still warming up to that very, very top level weight. And so we want to hit the light weights before that point so we're properly ready to go for those heavier weights.
Especially at this level, even though it's a national level with these youth lifters, the opener should be like a last warm-up. It should be something that you know you should be able to hit any given day and show your coaches you got more in the tank.
Ava Lipovsky, very clean squat there.
Coming out from Illinois, my home state.
Rocking the dunks, a fellow Nike, avid Nike fan.
So Eva just competed at USAPL Midwest Regionals over back in June in Appleton, Wisconsin.
So she competed a month ago.
Yeah, correct.
She competed a month ago and is already back on the stage.
And then 2 months prior to that at the Illinois State meet back in March. So she's been competing quite often. Only been competing for about a year, but several meets under her belt. Now we have Skylar Williams.
Miss Sky Williams, a Sky View, another hometown hero from Greenville, South Carolina. Too easy. Excellent work there, Skylar. All right, up next is Miss Liliana Robitaille. I apologize to the viewers at home if I'm pronouncing that name wrong.
Coming out
But
from
Miss Liliana,
Massachusetts. This is her second meet and first national, so she's making her national stage debut at the 2024 USAPL Youth Nationals.
clean squats across the board, folks. He's looking like some easy openers for our youth lifters here in the second flight. I want to give a quick run through of all of the rest of our sponsors here. I know we've mentioned A7. We also want to give a quick shout out to Renaissance Periodization, Spud Inc., Revolution Screen Printing for providing all of our meat t-shirts for the weekend. And a quick shout out to Titan Strength Systems and TSS or Texas Strength Systems for providing all of our equipment on the platform today.
Evelyn Gore coming out from Texas. Opening us up with 82.5 kilos.
Oh, now we got to be sure we have our knee sleeves on before we come out to the platform. But good catch there by the referees to make sure we get that set up. Smooth walk out here. Here's Miss Evelyn, 181 pounds. I liked it. Did the judges like it? And they do. Yep. 2-1. So that front judge might have seen a little bit of a high standpoint there, which is common with lifters that have a little bit of a closer stance. They do, their thighs kind of get in the way a little bit more. So that's not uncommon, but it is a good lift. So we're not even going to worry about it.
Yep. And again, like what we mentioned in the beginning of the stream, we are looking at the same viewing angle that you guys at home are looking at. So we're not on the platform, so we're not sure exactly what the referees are looking for. So we're just going to trust the referee judgment.
We're going to give our best guess, ladies and gents. We're going to try our hardest. Here's Hannah Dittrich.
This is our last lifter of the flight.
Opening with 214 pounds. My goodness. Very smooth, explosive opener. You can tell she almost bounced at the top there.
And that's 3 wide-legs. And just like our first flight, all two flights made all of their opening squats. So a really good start for all these youth lifters.
And that's rare. That's rare for any competition, for all the lifters in a whole session to get their openers. It's a good sign.
That just ensures that all these lifters are in the meet. They have one good squat, and so now they can really start pushing their attempts, being confident that they already have a squat on the board, and they're no longer at risk of bombing out.
All right, bars loaded now for Miss Harley Ann Schaefer, back at the top of the order now, going up 10 kilos. So I was wrong. We are going to see some larger jumps here. 10 kilos from 40 to 50. So we went from 88 to 110 pounds for Miss Harley Ann Schaefer. Let's see what she's got. That
Makes easy work of it.
I don't know why I even spoke. Plenty left in the tank there. She could go up another 10, maybe even another 12. Oh, so we got a red light there with a yellow card. Let's see what that call might have been. It was from the side judge here. Oh, it might have been moving the feet. Because you saw the hand kind of go down. I wonder if she moved her feet a little bit after that squat command. Unsure.
So again, the feet can rock back and forth. You can balance between your heels and toes, but your feet cannot move laterally between the squat commands.
I enjoy Alexia's shirt, not in distress. I need that tattooed. Here's Miss Alexia. This is a state record attempt for Alexia.
Coming out from Maryland. Let's see what the referees say.
It was clean on the way up. It looked a smidge high.
Oh,
and
I guess we're wrong.
Yep, I'll not even speak. 3 white lights for Miss Alexia Landy, and a state record attempt to add to the belt. And she's still got one more squat, ladies and gentlemen. Big hug there from mom/coach. Going up 7.5 kilos from 60 to 67.5 for Miss Aubrey Hickey. That's 148 pounds. All right, here's Aubrey now. So we saw a little bit of a delay in that start command there for Aubrey. We saw her kind of snap her knees in place there. In order to get that squat command, like Kevin said at the very beginning, we've got to make sure our knees are locked. We've got to make sure we're erect, we're not moving, our feet are planted. See right there. So once we lock the knees, now we get that start command, and we can carry on.
Eva, one of those lifters that's coming from my home state, from Illinois. I was talking to her earlier. She's really excited to be competing at her first nationals.
All right, Ava, here we go. It's going to be a good lift, ladies and gents. We're seeing a lot of pretty squats here for this second flight. And fairly, I don't want to say easy, but we'll say RPE 7 or 8. Easier than most attempts, so there's plenty in the tank for these lifters to add some pounds to the total. I'm interested to see where these go.
Yeah, none of these squats really jump out to us and say that was an ill-advised attempt selection. All these look like seconds, look like appropriate attempts.
All right, bars loaded for Miss Madeline Jenkins now, 159 pounds.
We got her bow matching the plates.
And her whole fit. It's going to be a good lift for Maddie. And then coming up right behind, Miss Skylar Williams. Oh, sorry, I'm wrong. We've got Miss Liliana coming behind. I apologize. And, I mean, these kids are strong. I mean, I've got a few baby cousins. They're, between 8, 9, 10, 11 years old. They wouldn't even think about putting a bar in their hands, but the fact that these kids are already at this level and are able to perform physically at such a level is a testament to how important, strength training and really fitness in general is for youth lifters.
I mean, I remember growing up, I was always told to play sport. As kids, right, we're always told to play sports, stay active, but to be lifting with such high standards at these national level competitions is just next level.
That's right. It's one thing to be athletic and it's one thing to be fast, and there's obviously places for that. However, adding strength training into that can only make you better and can only make you a better athlete in all the rest of your aspects.
And it really enhances the ability for these kids to be able to adhere to programs, right? Follow a coach, follow a training regimen. And we see the crowd getting behind Skylar Williams, who's going up for an American record attempt.
Miss Sky Williams, American record attempt here at 176 pounds. Come on, Sky. Oh, my goodness. Give her another 20 kilos. Skylar Williams, an American record attempt. The hand is raised.
And there we see right there a beautiful testament to the diligent strength training, just the consistency to be able to train back, put in those days of training. Awesome job, Skylar.
And a lot of these kids, they are in middle school, kind of just getting into high school. And so a lot of them are already doing sports outside of this. And so I wonder how much of an effect powerlifting and competitive powerlifting, I wonder what kind of positive effect it has on their other sports that they play. I know there's a decent pipeline, you could say, with wrestling, track and field, basketball, football, swimming even. I know a few swimmers that are good powerlifters, so they're setting themselves up well for a strong future. Evelyn Gore.
She had a bit of a delayed squat command. Had to lock her knees.
Yep, that's going to be a 2-to-1 lift. So we did get a depth call from one of the side judges, but hey, 2-to-1 still counts.
Up next, we have Hannah taking us up to 102.5 kilos, which is 226 pounds. She'll close out the second round of squats over on flight B.
Now, depending on, and this is something that I struggle with some of my lifters too, is when we have a call like that where it's 2-to-1, let's say you've got one red light and two white lights, how much of a focus do you place on what you got that red light for versus forgetting it, putting it out of your mind and focusing on that next attempt?
It really depends on how quickly that lift moved. If it was something that's easily fixable, like one of those technical errors, you can really overlook it and just focus on the planned third attempt, stick to the game plan. But if it really is something that you are going to keep in the back of your head, are going to think that maybe it's something that it was the weight that made you cut depth a little bit, maybe you're going to opt for a lighter third attempt just to make sure you get it on the board.
Right.
And not take so much of an aggressive third attempt. I mean, we're looking at the beautiful attempt selection here over on flight B. No missed lift so far.
You better knock on wood right now.
Yep. We have Harley Ann taking another 10-kilo jump. Her 50-kilo second attempt squat looks really easy, so opted for another 10.
We're going to keep the trainer rolling here. Ooh, bars loaded. She's ready, making her way up now.
You can see the smirk on her face.
And this is a state record attempt.
Yep. Harley Ann coming out from Nebraska.
Nebraska. I had a lifter out in Nebraska one time.
Let's see what
beautiful.
the referees say.
Oh, no, it's going to be a no lift, unfortunately. So she was a little bit high, and we did get that from all three of our judges here. So you can technically contest that, but there's really no reason to. It's the third attempt. We'll just get it back on bench and deads.
Mm-hmm.
And it's only 10 kilos, so let's say she adds another 2.5 to her bench, another 7.5 to her deadlifts. We're back to where we started. We're good.
And again, it's one of those lifts that it wasn't a strength issue. It's just a technical failure. So you're definitely strong enough for it. Just you got to get deeper next time. Here we have Alexia breaking her own state record attempt.
Now she did get one red light, if I'm not mistaken, for depth. And that's going to be a no lift. Good grab there by the spotters and loaders. got to go for it again. You have to.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Kevin, look what you did. Now you done messed up the green on the LiftingCast here. And ladies and gents, if you guys are watching at home and you want to follow along to the live meet results, you know, the weights that these lifters are putting in per attempt, different forecasting, different placing forecasts, the current totals, the divisions, go ahead and check out liftingcast.com/meets. You're going to scroll down to Youth Nationals, USAPL Youth Nationals, and there you'll find all the information you'll need, all the action to follow along with our competition today. Here's Miss Aubrey Hickey going to take her last squat attempt at 159 pounds.
Looked like an opener.
That looked easier than an opener. Oh, my goodness. 3 wide lights. Ava with plenty in the tank left.
That was Aubrey. We got Eva up next.
Oh, that was Aubrey, excuse me.
Yep. Eva taking a 2.5 kilo jump. Really conservative increment. Just looking to get it on the board. This will match Eva's personal best at 72.5 kilos. Just looking to build that confidence going into bench, going 3 for 3.
And especially getting all of your lifts in the squat, where bench is such a finicky lift, you could say. It's a lot more unpredictable than the other lifts. And so getting that momentum early is super important. 2 to 1, good lift for Ava. And we're getting that bar loaded now from Miss Madeline Jenkins, 162 pounds. If I'm not mistaken, this is Madeline Jenkins' second Youth Nationals. I believe she went to Youth Nationals last year, as did her teammate, Skylar Williams. Me personally, I think third attempt squats are the most nerve-wracking. Third attempt benches can go either way. Third attempt deadlifts are just fun. Third attempt squats are very nerve-wracking, but Madeline, no stranger to the game.
Beautiful squat from the hometown favorite of South Carolina. 3 white lights.
3 white lights. And another thing, too, that we're noticing, you don't necessarily want to go all out, right? These are, that's not something we would say with, you know, our collegiates or junior open lifters. But with our youth lifters, we don't really want them to go super all out because they're still developing, like we said. You know, we alluded to the belts earlier and how variable that can be. Sure, it's cool that the kids can grind. That's great, but is it good for their development as long-term lifters?
And I guess the biggest developmental progress here is just getting experience on the platform, making lifts, and just making sure that you can be consistent on the platform, learning the standards of lifting, and just be able to build that confidence and have that positive momentum to carry you into the bench and deadlift. As we see here with Liliana, a very easy 77.5 kilo squat. Could have had more, but there's no need to if you're succeeding. You're getting all these lifts and PRing your lifts.
Oh, waiting for the celebration from Gino here. It looks like Liliana got another state record. We didn't see it on our LiftingCast here, but she did get a state record from Massachusetts. I believe that's 3 for 3 on American records. Now coming up next, Miss Skylar Williams, looking to add a little bit more weight to her American record attempt at 184 pounds. Miss Sky of Greenville, South Carolina. The beat is bumping, the people are jumping. Come on, Skylar Williams, let's see if you can get this weight here, 184 pounds. Oh my goodness. Plenty left. Plenty left. Oh, she goes to immediately run to hug Coach Megan. The immediate celebration there. a phenomenal attempt there from Sky. She very, very much had plenty left in the tank. But again, to be able to go 2 for 2 on American records with that much left in the tank sets you up super well going into bench and deads. Let's watch this again here. Oh, my goodness.
And an all-time best for Skylar, so really no need to go more than that.
Exactly. Here's Evelyn Gore, 209 pounds. Looks like her singlets representing Bad Company Athletics. All right, here's Evelyn now, and folks, we've got Miss Evelyn, and then we've got Miss Hannah Dittrich before we go into a 10-minute break before bench press. Ooh, good attempt there. Evelyn's able to stand up, but was it deep enough for our judges? Unfortunately not. That's going to be 3 reds across the board there. But she still comes away with 87.5 kilos.
Up next, we have Hannah Dittrich. She's going up to 107.5 kilos, which would be 2.5 kilos more than her personal best. And she'll also be the last lifter of the flight, closing out Flight B. After this lift, we're going to take a 10-minute break.
And this is a state record attempt for Hannah, 237 pounds on the bar.
Hannah's been competing since 2020. This is her 4th youth nationals.
Oh, my goodness. It looks like it. It looks like it. Very smooth, very clean. That's going to be 3 white lights.
3 for 3.
And ladies and gentlemen, that is going to take us to the end of our action for squats for the first session of the 2024 USA Powerlifting Youth National Championships. We're going to take a 10-minute break before we get into the bench press, give our spotters and loaders a chance to get the platform set up. We will give you guys a chance to get some grub, get some food. It's still early. Make sure you get some breakfast in you, and we'll see you in about 10 minutes. Don't go anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back for the bench portion of the 2024 USA Powerlifting National Championships here in Greenville, South Carolina. Hope you all were able to take those 10 minutes to get you a quick bite to eat so you can sit down, sit back, relax, and enjoy some phenomenal bench pressing by our youth ladies today. And much like the squat, our bench press is going to have 3 attempts. And all of our lifters in this first flight here, so starting with Bellamy and ending with Gianna, we're going to go all the way through our first attempts, and then into our second attempts, and then into our thirds. And then we're going to go into our next flight of lifters, starting with Harley Ann all the way down to Miss Liliana.
And bench, one of the more technical of the 3. We have 3 commands. So like the squat, you have the squat and rack command. On the bench press, you have the start, press, and rack command. So it's one of the more technical lifts, one of the lifts that you, as a lifter, have to listen to the commands. You have to be a little bit more precautious on your setup, just being able to hold down, nail all the technical aspects of the lift. And here we see on the screen the spotters and loaders and referees getting the bench appropriately set up so we can get started with lifting.
Yeah, bench press uses, or technically utilizes the, I don't want to say the least muscle groups or the less strong muscle groups, but it is obviously localized towards the chest, and so there are a lot more things in place to be sure our athletes are kept safe and to be sure our lifts are to top standard. So up first, we've got Miss Bellamy White going for 27.56 pounds. And we heard 3 commands there from the head referees: start, press, and rack. And Kevin, you can go a little bit into the differences between the press and the rack, but that start command is still going to kind of be the same as you see for squats. You want to make sure that whereas the knees are locked for the squat, you want to be sure that the elbows are locked for the bench. And then we want to be sure that we still maintain our 3 points of contact. That's super important here. 3 points of contact on the bench is going to be our our shoulders, our butt, and our feet to the floor. It's a recent rule change in the past couple years that we can now lift our heads on the bench press. So that does not count as one of our points of contact. Looking like some easy openers here for our benchers. Phoenix Fearson, 3 white lights. And going into kind of the rest of the commands for the bench, we've got the press and we've got the rack command. So I want to say, of those 2, Kevin, what do you think are what do you think is the most missed for those 2 commands? Because I think those are the more missed ones.
Yeah, I mean, what was it between the press and
press and the rack?
Rack. I think, truthfully, I think it's the press command. A lot of the times, a lot of lifters might not listen out for the press command, or might just intentionally skip, or try to intentionally try to time a command, try to time the referee's calling of the command. So that might lead to a miss if, for instance, a referee decides to hold you a little longer, meaning that the bar is not held motionless on chest. And again, that's one of the reasons. That's one of the ways the referee gives you that press command. The bar has to be held motionless on the chest, in which you will then receive the press command, as you saw there with Jolene, and she gets 3 white lights. So yeah, lifters would sometimes jump the command, which would obviously miss the lift in its entirety, because you have to listen to all 3 commands.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that one, it looks like that head spotter there is putting like some wooden blocks on the ground. Now, folks, all of our lifters, and these are youth lifters. Let's keep that in mind, folks. So between the ages of 8 and 13, so they're not big kids. I mean, they're big kids, but they're not big kids, right? And so oftentimes they might need that little extra assistance in order to be sure they get adequate leg drive for their bench press, and be sure that they're still able to maintain that point of contact with their feet. And so it is lifter preference to have a box or a couple boxes underneath that bench that you can place your feet on. So it equalizes the playing field, you could say.
Per USA Powerlifting rules, the lifter's feet need to stay flat on the ground. So in order for the lifters to achieve a flat foot on the platform, they can opt to select any of the wooden blocks in order to achieve that. And it gives them that extra boost in height.
here's Sadie. Good press at the chest there.
Sadie coming out from Eclipse Powerlifting over in Bloomington, Indiana.
I was talking to Coach Aaron there. You see you're going across the way there. I was talking to Coach Aaron in between flights here. Dude, she is so excited to be here. Her team is super stoked to be here. Obviously, this isn't their first youth nationals, and so they are no stranger to being here. And they've got, if I'm not mistaken, I believe they've got 3 or 4 total lifters across the day. Oh, it looks like we're going to switch out. Oh, it looks like we've got the collar backwards there, it looks like. We're going to get that switched out real quick.
And again, in these instances, the lifter isn't placed in a disadvantage when it comes to their clock, right? Now that the bar is loaded, their 60-second clock now just started running, so they weren't running their clock, or they weren't missing on valuable seconds to set up and get that start command from the referee.
Good attempt there for Abigail. That's going to be a 2-to-1 no lift with yellow cards there. I'm not sure what that could have been. Do you have an idea?
I believe what might have happened is the bar ended up hitting the uprights, the safeties, the head savers, which in USAPL rules, we'll see that I believe it was on the right side. Well, again, we won't know unless we're on the platform knowing exactly what the referees called it for. But
I could run out there and ask.
Yeah.
But
I think that's what it might have been. I think the bar was supported by the uprights, which would lead to a no lift.
All right, here's Miss Nora Hogan. Now, folks, we saw just a little bit of an interesting bar path there. It looked like the bar went down and then back up. So similarly with the squat, there can't be any up and downward motion. So once the bar begins on a vertical path, it cannot return from that vertical path, if that makes sense. So no double dipping, unfortunately. It's got to be one straight press up. And as we saw with Nora, that will be a no lift. So she'll most likely retake that going into the second attempt.
And the up and down is indicated by blue lights. So it'll be a red light with blue cards following it on the bottom.
It's a good lift for Camila. Coming up next is Anna Camilla Little.
And as we're seeing here, bench press is one of the more technical lifts, so just have to be very cautious on how you're approaching the lift. Usually you'd want to opt to take a lighter opener just to have that extra safety measure in case anything should go wrong.
And one thing we want to make sure of, folks, as you were alluding to with the pause, the bar does have to be completely motionless on the chest, right? So once that bar touches the chest, you are not going to get the press command if that bar is, still sinking down on the chest, or if the bar is hovering over the chest. It's got to be a complete stopped motion, as if it just hit a board, right? So if there's any sort of motion on there, the head referee is going to wait to give you that press command.
And again, the referees aren't counting seconds. They're not counting 1, 2, 3 seconds in order to give you that press command. They're just looking to make sure that the bar is motionless on the chest. So press commands can vary in length between lifters depending on how the lifter chooses to lift, their style of lifting, how they choose to pause the bar on the chest. And ultimately, the press command will fall into the hands of the lifter, not the referees.
Now here's Carrera Erickson, if I'm not mistaken, coached by Jess of the Strength Vault from Charlotte, North Carolina. Carrera had a phenomenal run all the way through squats, 3 for 3, finishing out with 60 kilos on the bar. So now we're going to see her open with 27.5 kilos, 60 kilos on bench here. And we've got the green blocks out for her. Oh, sorry, that was Carrera. I apologize. We had a little bit of a LiftingCast delay there. So that was Carrera. That was a good lift. Now we've got Miss Lillo with 30 kilos on the bar, 66 pounds. Again, folks, if you're interested in following along with all of the action for the competition this weekend, do type in liftingcast.com/meets into your web browser and then search for Youth Nationals so you can follow along with all of the live attempts, the live referee calls, placings, etc. We see that head spotter there picking the bar up off of the rack for Willow for that opening attempt. And if I'm not mistaken, lifters can choose whether or not to have a spotter, correct?
Correct, yeah. If the lifter wants some assistance removing the bar from the racks, they can do so. And then that's why they have that head spotter, be able to provide that assistance. So the lifter would come up to the spotter, instruct them on how they want that lift off, and when the lifter is ready, they'll receive that lift off from the spotter. As we see here on the screen, easy unrag by Aline.
Wow.
And an easy press.
That was textbook, if I might say. The speed with which that descent came to the chest just to a complete stop. Let's watch it again here. I mean, you can't ask for a more clean descent there. And one of the things that I even try to talk to some of my lifters about when learning the bench press is you don't have to tempo it down. You don't have to go super slow. Some people do, but you don't have to. You know, you want to bring it down as fast as you can control it. And, you know, like I said earlier, every lifter is different. Every lifter has their own preferences. Here's Gianna, 99 pounds.
And earlier today, Gianna broke an American record squat and is starting us off strong with a 45-kilo bench opener. We're back to the top of the order, starting with our second attempt benches with Bellamy White, taking a 2.5-kilo jump over to 15 kilos. As we see on screen, the spotters and loaders are swapping out the bars. We're using a youth bar, which is a 10-kilo bar. And again, these youth bars are available for our youth lifters, so they can load the appropriate weights. They can load exactly the loads their coaches and the lifters want to lift. That way they're not forced to lift 20 kilos or 25 kilos.
Right. All right, back to the top of the lineup, Miss Bellamy White, starting off our second attempt benches. Doing a little bit of a break dance on the bench there to get into position, but I'm here for it. Here's 33 pounds. And like you were saying, Kevin, if with a normal 20-kilo bar, she unfortunately wouldn't be able to do the bar at that point. So dropping down to that youth bar does allow her to hit the weight that she is truly able to hit.
Correct.
That's a good lift, 2-1. Let's see that replay there for what could have been that possible yellow light. So the shoulders shifted on that one. If you saw, her right shoulder kind of shifted, and technically that is a loss of one of the points of contact. So I can see how one of the referees would have given a red light there. But 2-1, so who cares? Here's Phoenix Fearson. An easy second attempt.
Phoenix already going 5 for 5. Not having any missed lifts so far. Awesome job.
See, the last time you said that. All right, bar is getting set up for Miss Jolene Flagg. Okay. Jolene waiting in the wings. All right, bars loaded for Jolene.
Jolene, another one of these lifters making their nationals debut. First time stepping on the youth national stage.
Is she one of our ones that's only done one meet before?
2 meets.
2 meets. Oh, okay.
This is the
A
third
little bit
meet.
more experience here. 3 white lights there. Let's watch the replay there. We've got a solid setup here. Elbows are locked. We go to the chest. So we saw the bar bounce a little bit, but then once it stopped bouncing, then we got that press command there. Technical controller Elizabeth Taft. Making sure our lifters are properly set up for the platform there, making sure that all of their attire is squared away, making sure that the proper lifter is up. TCs have a huge role in meet competitions. They help keep the meet rolling, so shout out to her for all of her hard work today. Easy press there for Sadie Royer, 55 pounds, 3 white lights. All right, here's Miss Abigail Morrow, or Abby as we're hearing her name. Abby's going for 60 pounds. And now she did miss that opening bench attempt. Looks like, let me see here. You know, it looked clean to me. 3 white lights, and Miss Abigail is on the board now. Yeah, it looked like there were yellow lights on that first attempt, most likely for some movement or maybe some up and downward motion there. Here's Nora Hogan.
Similar situation with Nora. She missed her opening bench, opted to jump 2.5 kilos.
And now Nora did miss on up and downward motion, so as long as she's able to keep a stable vertical plane, and she does.
Looked a lot better. Let's see what the referees say. 3 white lights. That's a good lift.
Good lift.
Now, interesting strategy here. We missed the opener. Still opt to go up another 2.5 kilos. And in both cases with Abigail and Nora, both lifters hit. So now they picked up an additional 2.5 kilos, as opposed to the other option, which would have been retaking your opener. You cover a bit more ground, so now you can take your planned third attempt. So interesting strategy there, and it's working out for both of them.
And it's like you were saying earlier, you know, when you, like, if you miss that opening attempt and it's, you know, not necessarily something that's strength related, you know, let's say if it's a small little technique thing, very easily fixable, or oftentimes very easily fixable. And as we saw by both Abigail and Nora, they were able to come back perfectly fine. But then that also plays into, you know, the coaching decisions there. You know, do you, what's the best decision to put your lifter in a good mindset to continue the meet strong? You know, do I let her go up 2.5 kilos because it was still easy? We just messed up a little something. And it looks like that was the case there for both Abigail and Nora. So good to see them on the board.
Yeah, I think it's very valuable if you have positive momentum coming off of squat. Just keep the ball rolling. Don't stop and just continue building towards that total. Seems to be working out for the both of them. Here with Anna Camille going up to 30 kilos.
Very strong off the chest there.
Anna Camille, 3 white lights. Picks up another 2.5 kilos.
Might have to get me some of those purple braids for my next competition.
Carrera Erickson, again, also going up to 30 kilos, taking a 2.5 kilo jump from 27.5 kilos.
All right, bars loaded here for Miss Carrera Erickson. She's got USAPL tattoos on her face. That is so cool. I didn't know they make those. I'm going to have to get me one. All the support for USA Powerlifting. Ooh, find her at the chest. Yes, she can. Very strong. Carrera Erickson, that's going to be a good lift. 3 white lights.
One thing we'll see here with bench presses with these youth lifters specifically is we'll see a wide array of different grip widths. We see here with Carrera, she has a wider grip. But with some of these lifters, we have a really close grip, a really close hand position, which really varies into the different techniques utilized by these lifters. A lot of these lifters are still developing, they're still growing, so a lot of them are still finding what technique works best for them. And again, because they are still growing, they're going to grow out of a lot of the new techniques and as they continue learning how their bodies work.
Right. And that's something that even, that's something older lifters, even more advanced lifters struggle with is, finding what grip width is best for them, what arch height is good for them. It takes time. And it like you said, it's really all a matter of what your body is able to handle and what your body will allow you to do within the confines of the competition. And that was a no lift, unfortunately, for Willow. Looked like she couldn't get it off the chest there, but it looks like she's going to retake 32.5 kilos for that third attempt bench. Up next is Aline Fleetwood, 37.5 kilos.
Aline opted for a 5-kilo jump. A bit on the aggressive end, relative-wise, for these youth lifters.
I make 5-kilo jumps on bench. Clearly, it
worked out well for her.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, hey, this is my first youth nationals. This is not Aline's first youth nationals. She's definitely true to this. I am definitely new to this. Up next is Gianna Andrews with our first 100-pound bench of the competitions. This is 110 pounds, actually, for Miss Gianna Andrews. A second attempt bench here.
Like we alluded earlier, Gianna broke an American record squat at 102.5, looking to add on to her total with a second attempt bench at 50 kilos. She competed at last year's Youth Nationals. Coming out from Alabama. Let's go, Gianna.
And we did say Gianna does have every single record out of Alabama for at least the 44s and the 40 kilo weight classes. And she is on a short track to do the same for the 48 kilo weight class. That was an easy second attempt for Gianna.
I believe that was already a PR for her.
Oh, wow. It was the soft shrug walking back, just, I could have done a little bit more. All right, folks, we're cruising right along into our third attempt benches, so we're now back at the top of the order. Going up 1 kilo for Miss Bellamy White to 35 pounds. And there's the pirate of powerlifting himself, Gino. Longtime announcer, MC, avid fan of powerlifting on all levels. He is at every national meet, almost at all of the regionals, all the locals. You'll find this man everywhere.
Bellamy kicking us off with our third attempt benches.
Ooh, can she find her way? Ooh. Now at that point, it just like instinct took over, and that is perfectly fine.
She got that weight up, but I believe her feet rose up, a bit of up and down movement, but ultimately she committed a few infractions, so won't get the lift, but she got the weight up. And honestly, as a kid, as a youth lifter, really that's all that matters, right? Building that experience on the platform and being able to kind of fight through those adversities.
That's right. No one is ever going to be perfect on the platform. No one is ever going to get all of their white lights, all of their techniques sound. And so to be able to experience that early, whereas you see a lot of our older lifters who are a lot more entrenched in their training, they have a little bit of a tougher time, dealing with that. These kids are fine. They're going to be perfectly fine advancing through that adversity. That a missed lift isn't the end of the world for them. They know they're going to come right back the next day and hit it again. Phoenix Fearson up next here, 38 pounds. And again, Phoenix Fearson definitely utilizing the, not able to find lockout there. That's a tough sticking point too. And for the folks at home, the sticking point is, what we saw exactly there with Phoenix. That sticking point happened for her right about here. Yep, so right at that transition from the chest musculature to the tricep and the arm musculature, that's where we saw that sticking point. It's most common sticking point. But still coming away 5 for 6 going into deadlifts. Excellent momentum going in.
Jolene taking a 2.5 kilo jump over to 25 kilos. Here we have the spotters and loaders making sure that the rack height is set at the appropriate height for Jolene to take her attempt. Bar is loaded.
You can hear the support from other youth lifters,
Yep.
too. That just melted my heart a little bit. Just goes to show the community around powerlifting, especially around youth powerlifting, the support.
Amazing attempt by Jolene. And Jolene goes 6 for 6. Awesome momentum going into deadlifts.
I was trying to remember a lyric from the song Jolene for Dolly Parton, but I couldn't. But good job, Jolene. Sadie Royer. Jinx. You go ahead.
Up next.
It's a 2.5 kilo jump across the board here. So that's an advantage you find with having even jumps, is that you kind of know what to expect going into each of the attempts. But then we've got folks that take larger jumps going into smaller jumps, and like we said earlier, it just all depends on the lifter, the coach, and the day. Wow.
Beautiful attempt by Sadie.
Huge celebration from coaches on both corners.
Coach Aaron and Bianca.
Rolling right along here, folks. 30 kilo bench press locked and loaded for Abigail Mora. This is 66 pounds. And the bar is loaded. Purple definitely has to be a theme for this weekend. I think all of our lifters have purple singlets or purple something on, which I'm fine with. Ooh, there's the press. Come on, Abigail, find your way. And she does. And now one thing we even see with some of the older guys or older lifters, that as soon as they press after a big grind like that, it's immediately into the rack. And that kind of goes into, both the rack and the press being those more missed lists. Because a lot of folks, when you're in the gym or in a commercial gym setting, they're not focusing on pausing their bench. They're just trying to get the weight up. And they're not holding it at the top for a second or two and waiting for a command. They're throwing it back in the rack.
Sometimes you have to reserve a little bit of that excitement as you press and lock out that lift, not to throw it back into the rack. You have to hold it. Oh, and just sticky off the chest for Nora. Unable to get that lift. But
So the referees must have been using their magical powers to hold the bar down. No, that's okay. Nora still comes away with 27.5 kilos on the bench.
we have Camila going up to 31 kilos, taking a 2 kilo jump.
And folks, we've got 6 more lifters, including Miss Camila. Let's wait and see what she does. Oh, clean as a whistle. Well, now, folks, we've got 5 lifters left, including Miss Willow Lyles, before we hop into our second flight of bench pressers.
Willow Lyles missed her second attempt bench, looking to retake 32.5 kilos.
And that was a miss off of the chest there, and so it is normal to see that same weight being retaken. Wow, that's a professional-looking
Arch,
bench.
yeah.
Very high arch, feet back, wide grip. Oh. Not able to find her way up on that one, but that is okay. You saw the hands kind of loosen up a little bit on the bar there as well, so I wonder if that maybe played into a little bit of loss of tension at the chest there, but that is okay. Willow Lyles still comes away with 30 kilos on her bench press, totaling 155 in just her subtotal. Anna Camila with a state record attempt. Ooh.
And I believe the referees are going to call for up and down movement. We'll see blue cards on the screen.
Yep. Yep, all three from across the judges here. So we get the unrack here. Remember, folks, that bar has to go in a vertical line all the way off the chest here.
The bar
So
can't stop, but it can no longer come down and back up. So there is a double dip there. We see it 2 times. So unfortunately, that'll be a no lift.
Now, is that different than, you know, locking out like this way?
Yeah, so you can have
I just did a motion that the audience can't see. I'm sorry.
You can have an uneven lockout where one tricep, one arm locks out before the other, but at no point can the entirety of the bar move down when you're initiating that press movement. So anywhere throughout that press, the bar can't dip down in its entirety, but you can have that uneven lockout as we see. Maybe you have one tricep that's stronger than the other, whatever the case may be, but the bar can't come down and back up.
And one thing as referees we're looking for that is kind of that middle of the bar, that middle knurling, because that's really the truest aspect you can get of where that bar is moving, right? If you get a side view of a bar moving and it's going up and down, the weights themselves may be oscillating up and down, but that bar still may be in a continuous motion on the way up. So super important to get all of those angles.
Again, as we see these lifters kind of fighting through these last couple of attempts, we see them shaking, we see them fighting to get that weight up, and lifters are allowed to struggle, of course, right? We are maxing out. This is powerlifting, but they can't, the bar can't come down, but it can certainly stop, but no, it can't come down. We have Aline Fleetwood taking 40.5 kilos, taking a 3-kilo jump.
Here's Aline Fleetwood. Ooh. Now, just like what we were saying there, folks, a little bit of an uneven lockout there. Well, I mean, it was an even lockout, but uneven on the way up. But that middle of the bar did not move. It did not go back down. And so that will still be a good lift. So great work for Aline Fleetwood. 6 for 6. Only one of 2 lifters to go 6 for 6 thus far across squat and bench, the other being Jolene Flagg. It's a shame they're not in the same weight class. I would have liked to see that battle.
Gianna looking to close out the flight. A bench attempts with 51 kilos, 112 pounds.
All right, Gianna, here we go. Same thing there, a little bit uneven on the way up, but a solid vertical line. Gianna Andrews, 3 for 3 on bench, getting it back in blood for that second squat attempt there. What leg drive we saw there, too. Folks, Gianna's going to be our last lifter for this first flight here of benches. Moving on to Miss Harley Ann Schaefer. She's taking 44 pounds even. And so this is an empty bar. It doesn't even have the collars on it, so it's just the bar straight up. Yes, this is an attempt, but unfortunately, only 4 youth lifters. Lifters above this age, so high school, collegiate, juniors, they're allowed to take the bar, but there's got to be collars on it. Oh, Harley Ann Schaefer. Looks like she might have missed the referee's commands there. Just got a little bit too excited, which is perfectly okay. We still have 2 more attempts there.
Again, it's one of those situations as a coach where you have to make a decision whether or not you decide to retake the lift, or you can go up and attempt your planned second attempt or whatever the case may be, knowing that you know what the problem and what the issue was during that attempt. You know what there is, what the lifter needs to fix moving forward.
Here's Miss Aubrey Hickey, 66 kilos on the bar. Or sorry, 66 pounds loaded, 30 kilos on the bar here. And there we see again, folks, moving it as fast as you can control it. And Aubrey looks like she's in a nice little, could be in a nice little battle here with Miss Ava Lipovsky for the U3 60 kilo class. Only separated by about 12.5 kilos, which, especially as we get into deadlift, is not that big of a margin. So it's going to be interesting to see how that pans out as we get into deadlifts. Alexia Landy coming up next, 71 pounds.
Very professional looking bench there.
See, if y'all saw what my bench looked like when I was 10 years old, you would not think I was a powerlifter now.
I wasn't benching at 10 years old.
That's the thing. I wasn't benching at 10 years old. Say most kids, especially once they get into powerlifting, their first brush with like true strength training isn't until like late middle school, maybe high school if they do a certain sport. So they're here early. They're putting the work in early. Here's Miss Sky Williams, American record holder from Greenville, South Carolina, opening with 77 pounds for her opening bench attempt.
She's opening with her current best at 35 kilos. Makes easy work out of it. We hope to see 3 white lights on the screen shortly, and we do. That's a good lift. And
now, ideally, we want our warm-ups to be done behind the curtain. Sky just wanted us to, guys, she just wanted to show off just a little bit. Coming right behind us, her teammate, Madeline Jenkins. Bar is loaded for her, 82.67 pounds locked and loaded. There she gets that lift off. Now, Madeline, we see here going for a little bit of a closer grip versus some of our other benchers who elected to go for a little bit of a wider grip. And again, that is all lifter preference. All right, coming up next is Miss Ava Lipovsky. Like we said, she's in that decent battle with Miss Aubrey Hickey. However, she's opening 7.5 kilos more on bench press, so I wonder if Aubrey will be able to answer with deadlifts. We'll see. Very clean bench attempt there.
Just as clean as their shoe game.
I was going to say, the high top dunks are what's doing it for me. I'm here for it. Here's Miss Hannah Dittrick.
Taking 38.5 kilos. And again, with youth lifters, they are eligible to take increments in less than attempts in less than 2.5 kilo increments. So that just allows them to take the appropriate weights, especially on bench press, one of those lifts where you're not lifting as much weight comparatively to squats and deadlifts.
Mm-hmm. And so one of the, well, first let's see how Miss Hannah does here. Very easy opener there. One of the hot topics that is very commonly seen with bench press, ladies and gents, is that arch, and is how much that arch plays an effect into the bench. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So lifters obviously want to lift as much weight as possible. So one of the ways you can do this is maximizing your leverages, meaning that you can have an increased arch, reduce your range of motion by moving your hands out over by the 81 centimeter marks or the rings on that bar. So you can maximize your leverages in that way. So if you have a higher arch, you're reducing the range of motion, you're reducing the distance the bar has to travel from fully locked out arms over to down to the chest. So lifters, like we saw earlier with some of these high arch lifters, are taking advantage of the movement constraints and their body's ability to get themselves in those positions. So definitely a hot topic, something that people like to discuss, and it's something that as coaches as well, we like to almost encourage our lifters if they want to be as competitive as they can in the sport, try to maximize all the resources and constraints they have at their disposal.
Right, and one thing I mentioned a little bit earlier is, you want to adjust your technique to the confines of the sport, right? So long as you have those 3 points of contact and so long as you maintain all the rest of the starting points, so locked elbows, everything like that, you can kind of do whatever you want within those rules, whether have a super high arch, super flat bench, close grip, wide grip. Liliana with a state record attempt. Opener. At 121, 3 white lights. So that just means we're going to see 2 more state record attempts for Liliana on the bench press today. That is insane.
So as we mentioned earlier with Harley Ann Schaefer, she missed her opening bench due to failure to adhere to the commands, so she just missed one of the referee's commands. She's still up there to jump 5 kilos, so clearly something that her and her coach discussed in the back. She knows what to do, and she made the appropriate jump 5 kilos. She now has the bar and collar on the bar.
There we go. Harley Ann Schaefer on the board. 3 white lights. And a good call there from the coach to go up that 5 kilos, and especially considering how, for lack of better words, out of whack that first attempt was. She was still kind of able to manipulate the bar pretty well, and so that showed that there's plenty of strength left there, plenty of strength to go up, even after missing that first attempt. Here's Alexia Landy, another state record attempt at 77 pounds for the Youth 2 67.5 kilo body weight lifter. Here's Alexia. Beautiful.
Alexia making her nationals debut, this being her 4th meet.
And which record did she just take? Which state?
Alexia is coming from Maryland.
Maryland, hey. Shout out all of our Maryland MDVA lifters.
Aubrey Hickey up next, coming up from Wisconsin. This will be a 2.5 kilo PR for her.
Oh, wow. Oh, my goodness.
Very easy.
Faster than a speeding bullet. All right, folks.
We just heard Gino say that we have an American record coming up for Skylar Williams.
This will be her 3rd American record attempt, and should she make it, will be her 3rd American record gained on the day. Here's Skylar Williams. She her 2nd time at Youth Nationals. She might be her 3rd, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, but I know she went last year, did very, very well with the rest of her team, so we'll see how she does with this American record. 84 pounds. Oh, my goodness.
Very easy.
Adele in the background, too. I mean, the perfect music. That's going to be 3 white lights and 1 more American record for Sky Williams. Coming up next is Madeline Jenkins, the teammate. 41 kilos. So 90.39 pounds.
This is Madeline's 2nd Youth Nationals, being her 5th meet.
And folks, if you're watching at home, while I do know these 2 lifters, I only know that they're on the same team because they're literally matching in the entire outfit. From singlet to socks to everything else, they are matching. And you can tell Sky's in the corner there supporting Madeline. Good show of teamwork and support there.
Madeline fights to do that sticking point, and she gets 3 white lights.
Okay, so it looks like she might have jumped that re-rack command just a hair. We saw a little bit of a convo with the head ref there. Still waiting to see what the decision is. We're waiting with bated breath. All right, that's a good lift.
Good
Thank
lift,
you, Gino.
I like it.
Lift is good for Madeline Jenkins. Great job there. Here's Hannah Dittrich, followed up next by Ava Lipovsky and Evelyn Gore.
Hannah, one of these seasoned lifters, this being her 4th youth nationals, competing since 2020.
She's our one that's done, what, 14 meets or something like that?
Or
Was that another lifter?
It was another lifter,
Oh, okay.
but probably if you've been competing
If,
since
you,
2020,
if you've been to youth nationals 4 times, I think you've done a few meets. All right, here's Miss Ava Lipovsky now.
lifter from Illinois, my home state. Ava picks up another 5 kilos. 3 white lights.
All right, come right behind us, Miss Evelyn Gore. 110 pounds for her second bench attempt. And then we've got Liliana right behind. And then we go back to the top of the order for our last attempt benches for this session. And we've got a 10-minute break before we get the platform cleaned off for deadlifts. All right, here's Evelyn. Breaking the pattern of all purple. We've got green here for green. And it matches the bar weight. Ooh.
Fights through that sticking point, Evelyn. 3 white lights.
And that's, from a coaching standpoint, that's something that, for my lifter, I would allow a little bit more leeway for that third attempt, only because, there's, in my mind, I think there's a difference between a bar slowing down and a bar being slow. Does that make sense? So if you're slow on the way up, but it's a consistent speed all the way up, that's a good attempt. However, if you find that sticky point super early on or the bar ends up slowing down, it's a lot harder to gauge what your true top end strength is going to be because you've hit that sticking point. Looks like Liliana's going to go 2 for 2 on state record attempts. That's going to be 2 to 1. That will be a good lift. Looks like she got one red card or one red light, yellow card there. So it could have been for any number of things, any number of small things we might have missed. So maybe one of the referees thought she jumped a command. Maybe her foot slid. The feet, her foot might have come up just a little bit because the feet can slide. They just can't lift from the ground. And like we said, folks, we're going to get through this round of benchers before we take a 10-minute break going into deadlifts. Very clean attempt there for Harley. Got all the momentum back from that weird first attempt there. Just goes to show that one lift does not define the meet. You may have one bad lift. You've still got 8 more to do. I just can't help but smile. I love watching this stuff. I love watching kids just have fun. I love the sport of powerlifting in general, but having kids come into the sport this early and really enjoy themselves, that makes me happy. You know, the future is strong for powerlifting. I can't help but smile and be proud of the community of powerlifting, especially with USA Powerlifting and the support across the country that these lifters can get. Wow. You want to talk about patience. You want to talk about patience. Now, you'll find more often with our wider grip benchers that sticking point is a lot closer to the chest. And for me, that'd be a panic point. I would be a little worried about that coming off the chest. But Alexia, no stranger to that, able to stay patient under the bar, go for a smooth lockout, and come away 3 for 3 on the bench press. Here is, oh. Someone call Wendy's. Oh, come on, Sky. Can you find your way? Ah, that's okay. I was going to say, she already got one. The third one was just extra credit. Oh, I know she's not too happy about that one. And knowing Sky previously, Sky is just one of those lifters that's super, super into powerlifting. And you'll find that, especially at a young age, you know, kids can be hard on themselves, you know, and it's important to have fun, guys. It's got to be important to have fun. Otherwise, why are we doing this? And we got to have fun, got to be a little bit lighter with ourselves. Like we said earlier, missed lifts do not determine the meet. And so plenty of lifting left to go for Sky. Like I said, 3 out of 4 American records. I wouldn't be upset at that. Here's Aubrey. Ooh. So looks like she might have missed her rack command and the butt might have come up just a little bit. Yep. And so that's going to be 2 yellow lights from our judges. So that will be a no lift. Coming up next is Miss Madeline Jenkins. 93.7 big ones. We're going to call it 94. All right, Madeline, here we go. Yep, got to that sticking point just another time there, and that's another point of another point too. Like, how much do you want to grind on bench? You know, do you want to save that energy going into deads? What are your thoughts?
I think if a lifter truly thinks that the attempt is not there and you're just going to expend way too much energy in order to try to get the lift up, even if they have up and down movement, all the above. Sometimes it's not even worth it trying to grind out a lift. You're going to expend so much energy and tax yourself by the time you get to deadlifts. You want to remember it's a 3-lift event, a competition, right? So you want to make sure that you're saving your energy for all.
It's a marathon, definitely not a sprint. All right, here's Miss Ava Lipovsky. One of our close grip benchers here, Ava Lipovsky. But very clean all the way up. That's a long way to go, admittedly. That is a very long way to go for Miss Ava Lipovsky. But that is going to be a good lift, and we can hear the celebration all the way back here. Very excited to have gotten that attempt there, Ava was. And up next, we've got Miss Hannah Dittrich, and then Evelyn Gore, Liliana Robitaille, and we will be done with the bench press for session 1. We're going to take a 10-minute break, as we said, while we get the platform set up for deads. But before we get there, here's the state record attempt for Miss Hannah Dittrich. 102 pounds. Very fast to the chest there, controlled. Of course, not able to find the way off the chest. And that's going to be a no lift, and that is okay, ladies and gents. Like we said, Third attempts, we're a little bit more okay with missing those. Now, first and seconds, it's a little bit of a harder time. But thirds, we know we gave it all we could, and we're just going to regroup and reset for deadlifts. Bars loaded here for Evelyn Gore. Loving all of the angles that we're seeing for this meet. Shout out to the Barbell Productions team. Ooh. I also saw a little bit of up and down right in the middle there. It's going to be a no lift. All three of our judges also saw it. Let's take another look at that here. It's very small, very fast, but still enough to be considered an infraction. Right there. Yep, that little dip there. And Liliana's our lifter out of Massachusetts. Oh, look at me. Must be nice. All right. Liliana going to finish off our action of the bench press for session 1 of the 2024 Youth National Championships. Can she lock it out? She can. Was there any up and downward motion that our judges saw? They did not see any. That is an American record for Liliana Robitaille. Finishing 3 for 3 on the bench. 6 for 6 overall. A phenomenal end to the bench press action for session 1 of the Youth National Championship. And like we were talking about earlier, the bar can stop, but it can't go back down. So if y'all are watching the middle of that bar there, it stayed consistently on the way up or it stopped. It did not go back down. And folks, we're going to take a 10-minute break, as we said, while we get that platform set up for the deadlift. Let's take a look at some of our highlights and some of our lifters that competed in this past session here. We've got some phenomenal benches across the board. Starting off with Miss Bellamy White here, starting off with just the bar, and we go all the way up to the mid-hundreds here. There's Anna Camila there. Again, we're getting all these phenomenal angles from the Barbell Productions team and the USA Powerlifting Technical team. Bryce Lewis, Jan Dario, Kevin Lamb making this happen. All right, folks, we're back, and the action has begun on deadlifts for the 2024 USA Powerlifting National Championships. Bellamy White setting us off on a very strong note here. 3 white lights with her opening lift. And now, as I've said, we are on deadlifts. The music is getting louder. The people are getting louder. The party has started because the weight has hit the floor, folks. Mm-hmm. And now same with the squat and the bench. Our lifters do have the choice of lifting on a normal power bar, a 20 kilo bar, or a 15 kilo bar, as Phoenix is electing to do. And going into kind of the rules of performance here for the deadlift, Kevin, what are some things that you would be looking for on like the head referee side for a deadlift? Now, you mentioned hitching and ramping. Can you talk a little bit about the differences between those two? All right, bars loaded up next for Camilla Roth, 115 pounds. Also, we are moving very fast. And folks, one thing you're going to notice here with the deadlifts, and another, I guess you could say another hot topic within powerlifting, is the different stances that you could choose for the deadlift. So folks can elect to either go for a conventional stance deadlift, so the hands are outside of the knees, feet are generally a little bit closer together, or folks can elect to do a sumo deadlift where the feet are a little bit wider. Some folks even elect to have the toes touching the plates. That's how wide they want it. The hands are going to be inside the knees there. Both of those positions utilize different musculatures, and again, kind of like with grip width for bench, it's all down to lifter preference. So we see Willow Lyles here absolutely blowing up that opening deadlift in that sumo stance there. And folks, as we're getting into these deadlifts, so if you're following along on LiftingCast, the squat and the bench make up what's called the subtotal, right? So that makes up your total weight lifted going into the deadlifts. Once you start deadlifting and once you have that opening attempt on the bar and completed, then we start to see some jockeying for placements with some of our lifters that might be in contention with each other, right? And so, like we were talking about earlier with Aubrey and Ava later on, they're in the same weight class, so they might be battling back and forth with some weights here. But if you all are following along in the LiftingCast, you can check out those placings on the very, very far right under forecasted place. gripping on the smooth. That's a very baller move. And Anna Camila choosing to do a little bit of a froggy stance or a hybrid stance between the two there. So still technically a sumo deadlift where the feet are outside the hands, but the feet are a lot closer together, almost like you're kind of squatting, sitting like a frog. A little bit lesser known of the forms here, but still perfectly valid and within the confines of the rules. I'm taking a pretty decent jump up to 80 kilos for Carrera Erickson. It's 176 pounds. Carrera, our lifter with the USA Powerlifting tattoos on the face. When I went out there, I couldn't find any more of them, so I think they gave them all away. I might have to fight Carrera for hers. Here we go, Carrera. Very nice. And one thing we want to mention, too, with the deadlifts here is, so much like all the rest of the lifts, you do have a timer. And while that timer does start when you get the bars loaded call for squat and bench, it's a little bit different when you get into the deadlift. The clock will, or sorry, wait, I'm saying that so wrong. Yep, lost my train of thought. That's what it is, yep. Bellamy representing Eclipse Powerlifting. You said from Bloomington, Indiana. Geography was not my strong suit, ladies and gents. Here she is, Miss Bellamy White. Very clean. 3 white lights for Bellamy. She continues her excellent run. Going down to Miss Phoenix Fearson, 104 pounds are loaded up. That's 47.5 kilos. One thing we're noticing here too, folks, all of our lifters that are deadlifting, they've got to have knee-high socks. It's a very important thing, and a little bit of a different attire rule that you'll have for deads versus the other lifts. And that's just because we want to be sure that we're keeping everything sanitary, we're keeping everything clean. It's very common for the bars to scratch up our shins and some other things like that. So we want to be sure that we have all of that skin covered so that we don't have any ickiness on the bar. Now, we do have cleaning products, obviously, on hand to do that, but anything to make the competition smoother and safer for our lifters. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Come on, Coach. Give her a little bit more weight on that bar. It's a beautiful attempt for Jolene. Excellent work. Coming right behind is Nora Hogan. Going up 10 kilos to 57.5. That's 126 freedom units. You can see Nora is locked in, ladies and gentlemen. Eyes are focused. Oh, heck yeah. That's a good lift there for Nora. All right, here's Miss Camilla Roth. Oh my goodness. She could have probably put a red on there and been fine. And now Sadie is one of our youngest lifters on the roster today. She's 8 years old. Pulling 143 pounds for her second attempt. Coach Aaron in her ear giving her all the tools of success for this second attempt here. And the bar is loaded. Perfect. Let's watch that one again. Feet are perfectly square. Body position is excellent. It's almost natural form you see from some of our lifters. And Willow's just having fun, man. You can tell her having a good time over in the corner there. Woo-hoo! It was the stare down to the camera for me at the very, very top of that lift there. Really emphatically locking it out there. All right, Anna Camila. Her unicorn socks against the world. That's clean. These are some excellent deadlifts, ladies and gents. Oh, my goodness. Giving a quick shout out here to our spotters and loaders. They've done an excellent job across the day. No pressure, Gino. All right, bars loaded here for Abigail Morrow. 165. 165 is locked and loaded. Ooh, I like this. Very controlled setup. I love a good setup, me personally, especially for bench, but on deadlifts and when you get to, especially when you get to the sumo deadlifters, they can have some pretty funky setups here, but I just enjoyed the control and the intention that Abigail had for that attempt. I really enjoyed that. Important to note here, folks, USA Powerlifting is a drug-free competitive organization, and so in line with that, roughly 10% of our lifters for this session will be submitted to drug testing, and that's just to ensure an even playing field across the board and to maintain the USAPL's standard of safe sport, especially for our youth lifters. We'll have, I believe there's about 20-ish lifters on the board. I could be a little bit wrong there. Actually got some clarification there. Youth lifters do not get drug tested. Youth lifters do not get drug tested. Got a little bit of clarification in there. So at the end of the day, lifters can just go home, eat some food. Represent. The focus. Taking a nice deep breath there before hopping up to the bar, and now is her shot. You only get one shot. Do not miss your chance to blow. Gianna Andrews already with an American record squat under her belt and a 3-for-3 round on bench. See if she can keep up the momentum here. All right, Juliana, let's see what you got here. 259 pounds, ladies and gentlemen. Very wide sumo stance here. Toes almost touching the bar, or almost touching the weight here on the sides. Wow. Wow. I want to see a replay of that one. That was just way too clean. Look at this. Stable off the floor here. Wow. That's, dare I say, that is almost world's level. That is fantastic technique. You don't even see that from a lot of our older folks. Folks, for our first flight here, these are their last lifts of the day. This is their last shot on the platform, and then they can go home, hang out. They're all done. All right. Coach Aaron in the corner trying to get the crowd behind her. I think that was good. 2-1. It's a good lift. Very nice. And so we saw that head referee. There was a red light with a red card underneath. And that is what we call, failure to be erect, you could say, right? So the shoulders and the knees have to be fully locked out. If those aren't, then that'll result in the red card. But it looks like only our head ref saw that. Side judges thought it was good. And Bellamy White comes away 3-for-3 for deadlifts. A solid finish for her championship run. Coming up next, Phoenix Fearson. 52.5 kilos loaded up, 115 pounds. Singlet matches the bar weight. What are we going to see? A successful attempt. Beautiful third attempt there. Excellent PR there. Rolling right along, Ms. Jolene Flagg in the 60-kilo weight class. Or, sorry, 40-kilo weight class. And Jolene with this attempt currently forecasted and really slated for second place there. Her competition, Carrera Erickson, quite a sizable bit ahead there, forecasted at 193.5 kilos on the total. Jolene Flagg forecasted at 125. So either way, Jolene Flagg will come away with the silver medal for the Youth 240 kilo weight class. I saw a bit of a hitch, or ramp, sorry. 2-1. And that's why we're behind this. While we're behind the desk, folks. We're not on the camera. We're not in the chairs. that, like I said, from our angle, that looked like it wouldn't have worked. But from the judges' angle, it was great. So Jolene Flagg able to finish 9 for 9 in 2024 USA Powerlifting Youth National Championship to go 9 for 9, perfect day. What an accomplishment. All right, so it comes down to Camilla, Aline, and Carrera. Or sorry, Abigail and Aline for the Youth 3 division here. So right now, yep, currently in second place, but with the attempts that both Aline and Abigail put in, that will put her into third place. Wait on the referee's call there. Looks like a little bit of a LiftingCast delay. I imagine that was a good lift. All right, up next is Miss Sadie Royer. 70 kilos, so even 5 kilo jumps all across the board here. A little bit of a LiftingCast delay here, folks. That is okay, making sure our lifter doesn't come out too early. Be sure we get the right bar load on the bar for her. Sadie Royer currently slated for the gold medal in the ladies' youth 48 kilo weight class. Wow, Sadie. She's got her entire team behind her. That's going to be a good lift. What a show, Sadie. 8 for 9, 137.5 kilos on the total. A gold medal in the ladies' Youth 1 48 kilo weight class. You could not ask for a better day. Coming up next is Miss Willow Lyles. Jamming, having a good time, letting loose, having fun. That's the important thing here, folks. We gotta have fun with this sort of thing. Too easily can powerlifting become a super serious sport, and where we become too hard on ourselves. And Willow giving us a good example of why you just gotta have fun, gotta relax. Oh. Hold on. Oh, okay. So, interesting thing we saw there. The bar didn't leave the ground on that first, pulling initiation, you could say. So, technically, the lift didn't start yet. That's why we saw her go down for a second time. But that second time, the bar did kind of lift off the ground a little bit. So, that was her attempt. But Willow Lyles, again, another one of our gold medal winners for the Raw Youth 35 kilo weight class, Youth 2. Bringing home another gold medal for the Carolinas. Here's Anna Camila Little, also slated for first place. Looked clean to me. There might have been a little bit of a ramp there. Yep. And one of the side judges saw that, so 2-1. That's still going to be a good lift. And it does put her into provisional, or would technically put her into provisional first place, but Liliana in the second flight has yet to go, so technically we won't know what that placing will look like until Liliana does her first deadlift. Abigail Morrow, good lift. All right, here's Miss Aline Fleetwood. Wonderful attempt there. That is a good lift. Uh-oh. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got another American record attempt on the docket. Carrera Erickson going to take the American deadlift record. She's going to be attempting 103.5 kilos, so 228 pounds. So I was saying, weighing in at just under 88 pounds, attempting 228. These kids are strong. These kids are very, very strong. See the coach in the corner giving her all the tips, the tools of success here. Carrera is locked in and ready to go. Here she comes. Big deep breath, taking her time. Let's see what she's got. Let's see this. We got the coach view here too. Shout out Barbell Productions for the angle. Can she find her way up? Can she lock out? Ah. Right at the knees there. Right at the knees. So close. That's right, Gino. She truly held on to that for a good little bit. A good 5 seconds there. You want to talk about giving it your all. She came off, whew. You want to talk about a strong attempt there. Carrera Erickson finishing 8 for 9 on the day, still first place in the Youth 2 40 kilo weight class. Right, here's Gianna Andrews going for another American record attempt. 125.5 kilos, 276 pounds. She is going to be our last deadlifter for Flight A of the 2024 USA Powerlifting Youth National Championship. Let's see what she's got. 276, Gianna Andrews. This will be her second American record attempt on the day. And unfortunately, those pesky spotters just glued the weight to the floor again. No, but excellent attempt there for Gianna. As we go down to the top of the lineup here for Flight B, we're just making sure we get that bar loaded for Harley Ann best we can. And folks, this is only the first session of the USA Powerlifting Youth National Championship. We do have two more sessions today. We've got another session at 12 and another session at 5 for all of our lifters. So the action is going to be going all day. Be sure to tune in. And again, folks, this is not just youth nationals. This is also equipped and bench nationals. And so when we get into our next session, we're going to see all of our young men, our youth men lifters. And then after that, for our third session, we're going to actually start the bench press nationals action a little bit early. We're going to start that for our third session. Here's Alexia Landy, definitely not in distress. 121 pounds, 3 white lights.
Pretty big jump to Aubrey thinking she's taking 80 kilos as her opening deadlift.
All right, bars loaded for Aubrey. Now, if I were a betting man, and I'm not, she is wearing all Rudis gear, so singlet shoes. I wonder if she's a wrestler. That is a wrestling brand, and that brand is allowed in USA Powerlifting, and it's not very often seen in other sports aside from wrestling. So it'd be super cool. I wonder if there's any background to that there. Here's Ava Lipovsky. And that was a good lift for Aubrey, by the way, 80 kilos. That was a good lift.
Eva having a fantastic meet so far. Not missing on either squats or bench. To get her hoping deadlift at 85 kilos. Taking her time during that set. Very easy opening for Eva.
Got to be careful, though, about when that bar touches the ground. We saw it bounce just a little bit. One of the things that the referees are looking for is we want to be sure that the bar isn't being thrown to the ground, or we want to be sure that our lifters have full control over the weight at all times. And so if their hands leave the bar at any point during the motion, and that includes bringing the bar back down, it will be a no lift, unfortunately. Maddie Jenkins. Coming up next, Miss Liliana Robitaille, opening up on deadlifts with a state record attempt for Massachusetts, the U3 52-kilo weight class. Very clean. All right, coming up next is Miss Skylar Williams, currently 3 for 4 on American record attempts. And having only missed her last bench press, she's having an excellent day thus far. And it looks like they got smiley faces on the singlets representing the smiley face gang. I see you, ladies. Now, here goes Sky. I talked to Sky a little bit in between the lifts here. She might be going for the hat trick. She might be going for American deadlift record as well. And if she gets that, going for the sweep. Here's Evelyn Gore, 225 pounds on the bar for her. And like we were saying earlier, when we get into the first and second attempts, those are still in effect kind of a warm-up for that third attempt in some aspects. And so if you see Evelyn Gore in your local school weight room and she's got 2 plates on the bar, she doesn't need help at all. Do not be worried. She's got it, clearly. Bar is loaded. Hannah Dittrich, another state record attempt. And this will be a state record for Minnesota for the U3 82.5 kilo weight class. And so she's U3. She's been on the national stage for about 4 years. That means she's been on the national stage since she was at least a Youth 1, between the ages of 8 and 9, which is crazy. And you can tell just by the maturity and the finesse, you could say, the finesse that some of these lifters have on the platform at such a young age. Let's watch again. Very technically sound, very stable at the top, not very much shakiness or up and downward motion or anything like that. Very well-seasoned opener there by Hannah Dittrich. Coming back up to the top of the order, Alexia Landy. Coach giving her some wise words in the corner there, making sure she's got it. She's ready. She is not in distress, as her shirt says. And the bar is loaded for her. Let's see what she's got. 137.5 pounds. Wow. And one thing we might see with some of our lifters, especially those that do the sumo, is they're focusing so hard on that lockout that they actually lean too far back and their knees unlock. And like we said earlier, the knees unlocking, that's going to be a no lift. And so seeing Alexia be able to do that and just stand straight up with it, phenomenal work. Same for Harley Ann Schaefer. And that was a state record attempt. Bars loaded now for Miss Aubrey Hickey. And then we've got Madeline, Ava, and Liliana. Up next is Miss Aubrey Hickey. Bars getting loaded up for her. She's chalked up, ready to go. Here we go. Very wide stance here. Wow. Oh my goodness. That was insane. Now, with this, like we said, with sumo, folks can often choose to do a very wide stance here, and she basically goes all the way to the plates here. It almost looks like the weight's going to drop back on her toes with that attempt, and that's wild. And just goes to show, whatever your body can handle, and if you can handle it within the confines of the competition, do it. Here's Madeline Jenkins, smiley face gang. Beautiful second attempt, 203 pounds. 3 white lights. Yep, that's right. Chalk makes it stick, powder makes it slick. There we go. Ava, very forceful at the top, very emphatic lockout. 3 white lights. All right, folks, coming up next is Miss Skylar Williams, 217 pounds. Gosh, that's a lot of weight for these kids. My goodness. All right, Sky bar is loaded here. She is locked in. Oh, too easy. Excellent work there, Sky. We see her teammate Madeline in the corner there cheering her on. All right, they're getting that bar loaded up for Miss Evelyn Gore. We're on to, like we said, we're almost done with our second attempts here. We've got Miss Evelyn and then Hannah, and then we've got our last round of deadlifts for session 1, the 2024 USA Powerlifting Youth National Championship. Very smooth and steady lockout there for Evelyn. Now, Hannah Dietrich, this is going to be another state record attempt for her. For Minnesota. Yep. Like we said, Hannah might have one of my favorite deadlifts of the entire competition. Just look how technically sound this is. That's the stance that you see in most strength and conditioning textbooks. Right, that starting position right there is what you want to see. Everything is even. Knees just a little bit over the bar. Shoulders just a little bit over the bar. Everything is square. She's looking to bring one more state record home to MD. 148 pounds. Is locked and loaded for Alexia Landy. Definitely not distressed. You see by Gino, she's rocking hook grip, which is not something you see very commonly, especially with youth lifters. And for those audience at home, there's obviously different grips you can use with deadlift. You can do the double overhand grip that Alexia used right here. You can use hook grip where the thumbs are underneath the fingers. You actually grip the thumb underneath the bar to give you that extra grip. And then you've got under over where you can alternate hands like Miss Harley Ann is doing. And Harley Ann, that's going to be the end of her nationals run. Oh, yes. This is 209 pounds. We see Madeline's handler, Maddie Constance, on the side there, giving her all the hype that she needs for this last deadlift attempt. 209 pounds from Madeline Jenkins. That's one of the easiest third attempts we've seen all day, ladies and gentlemen. Madeline Jenkins, 8 for 9 on the day. First place winner for your Youth 2 67.5 kilo weight class. Up next is Liliana Robitaille. State record attempt for Liliana Robitaille. If I heard Gino correctly, this will be her 9th record. So I believe all of her attempts today were records, at least at the state level for Liliana Robitaille. Wow. Yep, and you heard Gino right. 9 state records for 9 lifts. 9 for 9. First place for the youth 352 kilo weight class. I was going to say, I kind of want to look back at her attempt list and see if she got any red lights for anything. Oh, she got 1 red light on her second bench. Other than that, she had quite literally the perfect day, Liliana Robitaille. Here's Aubrey Hickey, 220 pounds. Super wide stance. Just gripping and ripping. 3 white lights. Look at the celebration there. Wow, you love to see it. All of the effort, all of the hard work put in up to this point, just to see it released on the platform. Wow, Aubrey Hickey just gripping and ripping that bar. No setup, no nothing, just vibes. Here's Ava Lipovsky looking to go 9 for 9. I believe she does. Up next is Miss Sky Williams. Now, Sky Williams, unfortunately not going for that 3rd American record, which is fine. You've already got 3 under your belt. You can take a little breather, Miss Sky. But here, we're just looking to finish strong, right? We want to make sure we get this 225, and we want to stamp our presence on the platform for the USA Powerlifting Youth National Championships. Finish all the way up. And we get 3 white lights. Skylar not one for a ton of emotion coming off the platform, but just look at this deadlift here. Another one of our textbook pullers here. Now, Sky doing a good job of making sure that those knees are locked as she locks out and leans back. And she finishes 8 for 9 on the day. And she's only 10 kilos behind Hannah Dittrich. So it looks like she will solidify the 2nd place spot with this pull, clinching Hannah Dittrich in the 1st place spot. But let's see Evelyn. She can finish strong here. And she does. Slow and steady, but we finish the race. And that's a good lift. And ladies and gents, our last deadlifter of the session, Miss Hannah Dittrich. She's going to be taking 259 pounds. And what better lift to finish it off than a state record? Hannah Dittrich all the way up and all the way back down. 3 white lights. Kevin, I don't know about you, but this was some fantastic competition to start us off for our championships this weekend. I mean, seeing, like I said, some of the maturity that a lot of our lifters have across the lifts and the excitement and intention that we're able to find on the platform is almost unheard of in a lot of youths outside of powerlifting. But yeah, what were some of your thoughts? That's right. And then, like we were saying, these kids being so young and being already on this stage, they've got the world to go, right? They've got so much longer in their lives left. But they can come away knowing that this meet was a great show. 2024 Youth Nationals for Session 1 is complete, ladies and gentlemen. We will see you at 12 o'clock noon for Session 2. We're going to see our youth lads take the stage. We'll see you soon.